start? Okay, so this morning I got up and, I kind of slept in because I wake up earlier on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I have an early class. So I kind of slept in and it was really nice, and I took my time getting ready, and it was a slow morning. I had the house to myself because everyone had already left, and I put my strawberry Pop-Tart in the toaster, but I kind of don't pay attention to it. I forget about it, kind of doing other stuff, dilly-dallying, not really worrying about anything. And then I'm like, shoot, forgot my Pop-Tart. So I go back and the kitchen smells like burnt Pop-Tart because I fried it. So, I pull it out and it's all melted to the sides, and the stuffing on the inside is on the bottom of the toaster, and it reeks. So I'm like, shoot, this isn't gonna taste good, but I really wanted Pop-Tart this morning and I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna eat it anyway. So I ate my Pop-Tart. Well, I didn't really think much about this. I could have thrown it away, but then I thought, why am I gonna throw it away? That's such a waste. So Lardner once said, I've known what it is to be hungry, but I always went right to a restaurant. I didn't know how to interpret this at first. I wasn't sure what they were saying. I don't know if it's he or she, but I wasn't sure what they were saying at first, but it kind of stuck out to me as they were pointing out what it is to be humble. We should be more humble, because we all know what it's like to go hungry, but we've never had to starve. We always go eat. We always go out to eat to a restaurant and pay for it with our families. So I'm going to talk to you today about being humble, because I think this quote reminds us that there are people in the world that know what it's like to be hungry, and they're hungry all the time, and they struggle and they starve, and they don't have the resources available to them to eat and to not be hungry. So first, that's the first part of the quote. That's what I think she's saying, or he. And then she says, but I always went right to a restaurant. They don't say, but I always went to eat, or I always got food. They say, I went to a restaurant. And I think that sticks out because they're not just saying I have food available to me. They're saying I'm so privileged that I can go out to an establishment and pay for a dinner with my family and sit down and have a good time. So I think they're saying we should pay attention to what we have, because we all complain, man, life sucks, I burnt my Pop-Tart this morning and I didn't even want to eat it, it wasn't even good, but I ate it anyway. And it's this quote reminds me what I have in my life. And I think that's really important, because I could have thrown the Pop-Tart away and I thought about it, but I'm glad I didn't, because now I'm giving a speech, and the quote that I picked is perfect, because I know what it's like to be hungry, and I think everyone knows what it's like to be hungry, but we've never had to starve like other people have had to starve. So I think this quote should remind everybody how privileged we are and what we have in our life, and to be thankful for that, because a lot of people don't have those things. Thank you.
No, you keep that. That's your souvenir for the day, yes.
Okay.
If you want, I can sign it after class and you can sell it on eBay. Okay, Riley, there are some things that I think work really well here. There are a couple of things that I want to holler on you about, but they're not bad things. They're things that'll be easily fixed. I like the story that you have at the beginning, telling us about your whole Pop-Tart incident. It makes it feel like it's natural. It's something that you're talking about from your own experience. There's enough detail in it that keeps it interesting, and then you apply it later on, and I like that. I thought you had a nice transition to the topic, and I thought your interpretation of the quote was excellent. I thought you did a really good job with that, and that gives you something interesting to talk about. There's not really a structure to the speech. It's kind of all analysis of the quote, so there's not a plan on how you're going to develop it. You lucked out that you had, I think, a very good interpretation, and you were then able to apply your own example to the same situation again later on. So although I thought that the content was really well developed and you had a good idea here to talk about, it's not organized in any particular way, and so as a speech, it's got a couple of issues like that. But you lucked out because you had a good interpretation. I don't want to say you lucked out because you came up with that interpretation. So that's exactly what you want to do. You want to see the quote and see. This is kind of how it speaks to me. I see a thing here. We don't really know what it is to be hungry. We're pretty damn privileged. And, here I am whining about my Pop-Tart, but at least I've got something to eat. And I like the way that you went with that. I thought that worked really well. So content-wise, like I said, except for the organization, it was pretty solid. The presentation. Now, here's where you got a couple of issues that are going on. It looks to me the whole time like somebody is twisting your arm to have to give the speech. And the reason it looks that way is because you've got your arm twisted behind your back the whole time you're giving the speech. It's like, Richard's holding me here, making me speak in front of this audience. I don't want to do it. And you've got that arm locked behind you the whole time, and it just looks really awkward. Your gestures with your right hand are pretty natural, but they have that quote in it, and so it feels awkward, even though you're doing some things with the one hand gesturing that are effective. The other just looks a little awkward. At the beginning, I thought you had some nervous stuff with your feet. You got a little bit better as you went along, and I think as you got into your groove and figured out where you were going with the quote and how you looked at it, it becomes obvious that you're a little bit more confident and a little bit less anxious, although the arm thing continues to remind us that there's that anxiety that's going on there. I think your voice projects pretty well. At the beginning, I think your eye contact's inconsistent. You have a tendency to look down when you're thinking to yourself instead of looking at us. It's like, I'm going to look down here and look around. You usually look up again and engage us, but there are a lot of times when it feels like you drift off. Better in the rest of the speech. Like I said, maybe the first minute and a half of the speech was that, and then you were better the rest of the time in the presentation. Let's see. Oh, and I like the way you tied in your Pop-Tart story at the end, kind of coming back to the whole point that you're trying to make. So that worked pretty well. So there's a lot of good stuff in the speech, but a few things to fix. Don't forget to watch your speech and see if you agree with my interpretation of your arm twisting, that's going on there. Thank you.